here. And if I switch to Vero Beach, it switches to Vero Beach customers. Okay, let me switch back to Miami. And for this chart, I'm going to need two variables. One to display where the 80th percentile is, or 80th percent, and a cumulative percentage as well. So again, I'm going to add a descending sort on the revenue. And add a new column in here. And I have to get my notes for a moment to remember running sum of the percentage of revenue. So I'll drag revenue in my new column. Ooh. Just revenue. And so we're seeing the percentage there, and then I'm going to add a running sum. Okay. So this is going to give us our cumulative to see where the 80th percentile or our top 20% customers are. And I'll save this as a variable called cumulative percent. And then the next piece I want to add is I want to be able to show on the Pareto chart where the 80th percentile is. So I'm going to add another formula here. I'll insert a column here and 80th percentile. And all right, for this one, just for sake of time, I'm going to copy this formula, but let's talk about it for a moment. So it's going to ask if the cumulative percent is less than the cumulative percent times 80%, and the cumulative block percent in the block, then show me the 80%. So I really only want to see the 80th percentile for the one point where it's at the 80th percentile. And it has to look at the previous value to see where it's going to stop putting that. So I'm going to copy this formula and paste it in our column here. That didn't copy. There we go. All right. So it came up with my 80th percentile and put it right here. This is the guy where the 80th percentile was. What happened when I was originally working on this, if I just asked for the 80th percentile, if it didn't land exactly, if there wasn't an 80th percentile, it wasn't showing up. So with this formula, I could get it right where I wanted it. So we'll save that as our 80th percent. 80%. And then I'll format both of these columns to be percentages. So the default percentage always gives us two decimals. So I'll come to the custom one and remove those 2 zeros so we can see it without the decimals. All right, now I'm ready to turn this into a chart. I'm going to get rid of the city because I don't need that. And, oops, let me format this revenue as dollars with no decimals. Okay, now we're ready. I'll turn this into, this one is also going to be a column line chart, but because we have percentages, I'll use this with two y-axes. And let me add the 80th percentile, 80th percent there, and not on the first one. So we've got revenue on the first axis and 80% and cumulative percent on the other one. Yeah. Okay, so that mostly does what I want. This is a standard Pareto chart. And this is my 80%, that red dot right there, which I could leave like that, or if you wanted a bar, you could also change that into a bar on this measures properties. And this was kind of interesting to me. If I changed just the 80th percentile into a bar and said apply, it switched and made the revenue into a line and the cumulative into bars. So then you have to go and specify for each one of these. No, I really want that to be lines, and I want that to be bars. I don't know why it does that, but there. So now you could have your 80th percentile designation as a bar if you wanted it that way. So let's see how we're doing. Oh, we're about out of time. All right. There is one other thing that I wanted to show you, and I don't have time to do it on here, so I'll show you what I did on the finished one so you could see it. On this finished one, when I was looking at it, I thought, would I want to sort the cities by revenue or by cities alphabetically? And I thought, you know, sometimes I would want to see it by revenue, and sometimes I would want to see it by the city. If I'm looking for a particular city, it's easier to find if it's in alphabetical order. So one of my coworkers just recently created a tech tip, and I don't know if it's been published yet. Oh, it hasn't been published yet. Okay, it'll be coming out. But it's how to use input controls to dynamically change your sort. However, I had an extra challenge that particular tech tip didn't cover. So we could put a sort in there to change it between two dimensions. But what do I do when I want an ascending sort for customer and a descending sort for the revenue? That was a challenge. So how I worked around that issue was I created a rank on the revenue, and a rank by default sorts descending, but it starts with 1, right? And so that was the right order that I needed. So I created a variable to give me my rank, which is give me the rank of revenue, and then since I needed it to be text so that it would sort the customer city as a text. So if they're both text, they behave better. So I used the format number and put 00 so that it would sort properly as a text field, even though it's a number. So that gave me the right order that I needed. And then I created 2 other variables. My first one I just called city. And then I created an input control here based on that variable that I created. And the way I set it up was in the list of values, I chose city, and then I just typed in revenue there. So they could choose either city or revenue, how they wanted to sort that by. I could also, yes, I did. I changed the name here so that in the left panel here, it says sort by, and the user can choose which one they want to sort by. So then I created one more variable there called the selected sort, and the selected sort says if that selection says revenue, then use the vRank variable as the sort, otherwise use customer city. And then I added that sort to my chart up here. Let me show you that real quick. I have to disable the linking in order to show you the sort. So sort and advanced. So there you can see I use this variable selected sort. So whether they choose city, it would use the city for the sort. Otherwise, it would choose the ranking, even though they selected revenue. Okay? So in my input controls, if I switch to revenue, then it sorts descending by revenue. And if I sort by city, then I can see the cities in alphabetical order. So a handy way to make it useful and usable for your end users. To switch, let them have the control of how they want to view that. All right, and that is what I had for you in this first session. All right.